We've all been there. You don't buy things because you want them not to work. Last video was all about the good things from the last year. This one is about the not so good. 8 products that you should either straight up avoid or that you can find a cheaper alternative to. I don't really want this to be a negative video though, so think of it more like a shared learning experience. So if you've got things that did or didn't work, make sure you share them down in the comments below. And it goes without saying that these are just my opinions. If something I mentioned that doesn't work for me works for you, great, it's your hobby, hobby your own way. I want to talk about glue. Specifically, plastic glue. Viscosity aside, most plastic glues are basically the same. So if you want one piece of advice, don't buy plastic glue in this style of bottle. They're hard to squeeze, awkward to use, and the silly little metal tubes clog up every time you use them. Sure, you can unclog them with fire, but I never have lighters around, and it's irritating. A much better solution is Tamiya plastic cement, which has an applicator brush. Now I've talked about Tamiya plastic cement a couple of times, and I've got a full video on it, so I'm not going to go on about it here. I will ask your opinion here though. I haven't yet found a super glue that doesn't clog up or the cap weld to itself. So if you know of one, let me know in the comments below. Another product that sounds great, but just doesn't work properly is Vallejo putty. It behaves just like decorator's cork, which I sort of think it is, in that it shrinks when it dries, which means you need to do several passes and lots of sanding to get the finish you want, which means it takes ages and is just sort of a pain in the neck to use. Now if you do use it properly, it's good. But products like sprue goo, which is sprue dissolved in plastic cement for small gaps, or UV resin for larger gaps, work quickly and are much more effective. For really large gaps, I would use milliput, which does take a really long time to dry, but is solid and will do the job properly. Number 3 is a Dremel. And unlike the previous two, Dremels actually work. They're amazing at what they do, which is drilling, sanding, polishing, cutting, that sort of stuff. But they're a bit of overkill for a hobby product. They're bulky and basically just too powerful. Sure, you can turn them down, but still, you'll find it a lot easier to just drill the barrels of your gun by hand using a pin drill, sand down imperfections using sanding sticks. If you must use something automatic, this little nail polisher costs £10 and does the job nicely. Now I actually recommended using a Dremel over a year ago, so hands up, sorry about that, I take it back, do it by hand instead. The next 3 products I've lumped together in the category awesome products, but you can get them cheaper. Let's start with texture paints, but you can also chuck mediums and varnishes into this pot too. The ones you can buy from GW work brilliantly, but the pots they come in are really small, say 24 millilitres. If you shop elsewhere, and you should, either in hobby shops or art stores, you can get a broader range of stuff for just a little bit more money for a lot more product. My favourite is this glass bead gel. It looks just like tarmac when you paint it right. It costs about £10 for a tub, which is 250 millilitres in size, which, when you compare it to a £4 pot for 24 millilitres, is pretty good value. Same deal with weathering pigments. You can get a small tub like this for about £3, and if you want convenience, or a particular colour shade, that's absolutely the way I would go with it. Or you can buy 36 colours from Amazon for £7. Crush them yourself and relieve a bit of stress in the process. It's the same story with all manner of basing materials too. You can, and I do, buy lots and lots of different types from hobby stores, but they're more expensive, so if you're doing it on a budget, hunt around your garden. Find some generic garden dirt, pop it in your oven on a low temperature about an hour to sterilise it, and you've got a workable product, which is great. If you want to head out and purchase basing materials, I really recommend hunting around pet shops, particularly those that sell reptiles and fish. You can get loads of different textures and materials from those sort of places, and a lot cheaper than you would do in hobby stores. So if this has been useful so far, can I ask a favour and ask you to like the video to keep the AI happy? And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It helps others find it too. Don't forget, all the products I've actually recommended are down in the description below. You can click on those, and if you do, and follow one of those affiliate links, you'll support the channel too. On with the show. The next 2 are controversial, so I just want to remind you, these are just my opinions. If you've got a different opinion or something works for you, cool. It's your hobby, hobby your own way. But number 7 are paint shakers. Before you click off, I use this one. It's alright, particularly if you're restoring lots and lots of paints, or you have a particular reason such as a disability that you can't shake paint very well. But if you're just using 1 or 2 paints at a time, it's a bit of a faff, and I would just shake them by hand. I would add agitator balls if your paint doesn't already have them. It will really help the mixing process. But yeah, I'm 50-50 whether they're worth the spend or not. What I am sure about is DI versions like massage guns or jigsaws are probably more trouble than they're worth. If you want to mix paints, buy a cheap paint mixer or do it by hand. The effort of converting tools, for me, just isn't worth it. Number 8, and the last one, dropper bottles. There are definitely 2 camps on this front. My general take is this. 1, the paints from Citadel aren't that bad, and they don't really warrant all the effort of moving that paint. There are loads of paint brands out there with lots and lots of different types of colours which match the Citadel ones, so just find one you like and use that instead. And 2, if you do have to use Citadel, they're really not that bad anyway. I've had some Citadel pots for years and years and years and the paints are still fine. But as I say, it's just my opinion. You do you. My other bugbear is people using cheap plastic droppers from Amazon and transferring all their paints into them. What inevitably happens is the paints clog up the nozzles, which when you squeeze them, pop paint all over whatever you're working on. If you want to put your paints into different pots, and it's up to you at the end of the day, I would use glass ones with little pipette inserts. They're durable, they're a little bit more expensive, but they're really accurate to use. In fact, they're just like the bottles that you get if you're using inks. So I've transferred contrast paints and shades into those pots because it actually makes them easier to use. So there's that. What do you think? If you want to share your ideas, you can do so in the comments below. And if you want to see some products I actually do recommend, check out this video over here. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. See you next time.